Hey everybody, welcome back to Tavern Talks. I'm your wonderful barkeep and host for the evening. And tonight we turn back the tables to the original way that we played and did Tavern Talks. So if you've been here for a while, you know that we were doing reviews, we were talking to people, and we were finding out their story about how they got into the TTRPG community. And tonight we're returning back to those fields of view. So tonight I have a wonderful friend of mine, Fyra, and she is the creator of an amazing group of things out there in the TTRPG community. And I have a box, but before I open this box, because we're gonna do this on live, because I haven't seen it yet, I don't know what she sent me. I'm just gonna let her kind of give you a little bit of a background of who she is and what she does in the community. So take it away.
Hi, I'm Fyra. I have been in the TTRPG space for several years, but not like publicly. And then I got now my social media is now like into it and stuff. But I've been in TTRPG since like middle school, but never really had a good group back then. And then now I do it more like on Discord and stuff with my friends. I've been an artist since I was a little kid. Making little clay sculptures and stuff like that with Play-Doh. And I've just been doing art, like officially since high school, like selling at conventions and stuff. I usually just kind of like make things that if I like it, like I'll do it, like not like for other people, if that makes sense. So I like to say I put like a bit of my soul into everything I make.
There you go.
And yeah. That's it, I guess. I consider myself a jack of all trades artisan. I make squishies, I make Pokeball terrariums. I just kind of make whatever I'd like to make.
Oh, my tech guy, he's a huge Pokemon fan, so he would enjoy that. But I don't know what she sent me. So let's, it says Fragile, so I figured that's probably something I should at least be paying attention to. Let's find out what we got, right? Okay, so this says, so you see it says DM cup. So an idea, you got a straw on the sun. Oh, and the fabled box of I don't know what's inside. So let's hopefully this isn't a mimic and I like am eaten on stage or on screen, and so I'm gonna
we'll see.
Point it this way so you all see. Do you see any teeth yet? Nothing? No? Okay, good. Slide this.
I'll watch you break it on screen.
Oh no. It feels so bad. I'll watch it being cracked on because of the shipping or something horrible. Like I'd be so
that would be awful.
So I'm gonna do it as I saw it, but I'll show everybody else real quick. So ooh. Hold on. So I have, oh wow, that's heavy. Heavier than I thought it was going to be.
It's bamboo.
Yeah, so you have a bamboo lid, and it has succulent scribbles on it. And this is for the game master, or in this case, tavern keeper. Check this out.
I should have made a tavern maker one. That would have been so cute.
Ooh, look at that. Ooh. Dungeon master. Now, if you've been to her site yet and you've seen all the other classes, or you saw our little image on Instagram, now I want them all. I don't know where I'm going to put them all, but I want them all. So, yeah, maybe I'll make a co-buy and see if my community will buy me because I don't think I can afford them all myself. But yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Of course.
As long as I can open the straw.
I feel like I should have drawn a tavern one. That would have been such more fitting.
Oh, but it looks
too
so
late
nice.
now. But
oh no, it looks so
nice.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Okay. Welcome.
Oh yeah, no, this is going to go on my shelf of. Well, I don't know. It will either go on my shelf of goodies with all of the other things that our wonderful community has given us, or it will go in my kitchen where I use it consistently. One of the two. I haven't decided yet. But no, thank you very much. This was awesome. I hope everybody got the chance to see it. If you didn't, I will put it back on screen. Yeah. So you originally started telling the story of how you got into the TTRPG community. More so, you said you started it back in high school, right? Or before high school?
In middle school.
Middle school, okay.
So it wasn't really a good experience. And it actually made me not do TTRPG until a couple of years ago.
Oh no.
So like around COVID was when I wanted to get back into it. But yeah, no, I was in middle school and I used to go to this a tea house. It wasn't like boba yet, like at the time. So it was like a tea house and they had like anime nights and stuff and magic nights. And there was all these like high schoolers and college guys and stuff. So my mom would drop me and my sister off there and we would watch anime with these people. And eventually they were like, hey, like you want to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. But they were incredibly misogynistic. They didn't want me playing, like they made me play a girl character when I wanted to be a guy character. They would make all these like sexist comments, and then like if I wanted to play a certain way, I wasn't allowed to do that, but other people were allowed to. Like little stupid little things. I'd roll like if I was a cleric, and I remember if I had to heal because I was a new player, so it would be a new cleric. So if I was going to do cure wounds, I had to roll a D100 to see if it would even work. Like it was like little rules that didn't make any sense,
just
and I thought it was part of the game.
Just because.
Yeah, just poking at me, and then like it got to a point where my sister intervened because she was watching us play, and this was like 2 months of this, and she was finally like, you know what, because I'm not a person that like complains, so I was just dealing with it. But I wasn't looking forward to going to the anime nights anymore or playing anymore. It just wasn't a fun experience. And eventually it kind of blew up at the table and there was a lot of yelling and stuff like that. So then I just left my sister and I just left. And I was like, if this is how the game is, like, I don't want to play it. It can be the stupid little boys club, like whatever, like that. And so from middle school until then, and then Critical Role came out and I was like, oh, like this doesn't seem like how I played it. Like this seems like such a fun thing. Started watching campaign 2. I actually recently finished campaign 2 because I watched it on and off.
Right.
But was like watching other APs and stuff. And then I was like lamenting about like how D&D treated me like on Twitter. And this wonderful, wonderful DM like reached out to me and was like, I'm so sorry you experienced that. My table is warm and welcoming. Shout out to Inks, by the way. And I only joined their group because I thought they were a girl at the time. They're agender, but like I thought they were like cis female. Yeah. And then when they were telling me the story and we were on voice chat, I was like, this is a masculine voice. And but at that point, their story for the world was so compelling, and I'm still in that campaign. Like we're near the end of it now, and it's been like a year or two, and I love it so much. And their story was so compelling that I was like, let me just give this a chance. And I felt like I was healing during that process because like now I'm in like 3 campaigns and I'm okay with playing with other people and stuff. Like, so like, yeah, I started with the bad experience and it like almost ruined the game for me. But I do think that like Critical Role and watching other APs and stuff and then was finally like let me heal to like start playing with other people and stuff.
I think, like I said, with things like Critical Role, and as the APs got bigger and bigger, you started seeing a lot more of a diverse table, right? So that's, I think, the biggest thing that it really pulled people to that, where it is an accepting community. And coming from a place in the world where I was more naive against it than anything, and I felt so bad when I first started getting into the TTRPG community, not because I had thought that way, but because I had seen that kind of reactions to people and people being secluded for things like race and gender and those types of things. To me, it never really clicked. But I also realized later on that my tables were that simple, kind of at first, where it's all guys, young adults. And I don't think we had the opportunity to bring other genders in, and we were very white community, predominantly white community. So that's all we had. But once I moved into the TTRPG community, especially now that I've been doing streaming now for 3 years, I've seen so much more, and it's opened up my eyes in so many different ways on how to work with people of all different types. And I don't really see, it's funny to say that, like, you don't really see it. I don't notice it as much anymore because it all blends together because there's so many people in this community now. And even we have people in our community here that they've been having problems because of disabilities and the gender roles and things like that. And that's something to me that just blows my mind that is still a thing in some communities. I don't see it as often, especially in the convention world. I don't see it ever, but I think in smaller communities, things like that where it's not as common, it could still happen, and I think that's horrible that it does.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you found the ability or you found a avenue that connected you back to this wonderful community, because without it, you wouldn't probably be doing what you're doing now, which is incredible work and incredible artwork. Besides the cups, what else do you do? Because you were talking about all sorts of things.
Well, originally I started with terrariums, and then I would make like handmade plushies and stuff. I don't do the plushies anymore. There's like so much demand for it. It's very tiring.
Oh, I bet.
But I do squishies, which I don't want to run upstairs and grab. Oh, actually, is it cool if I run upstairs and grab one?
Sure, that's fine.
It'll make more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
For it. Yep. So if you haven't checked out her site yet, it's Succulent Scribbles. Definitely go check her out on Instagram or on their website. Go buy these amazing cups. Like, oh my goodness, they're solid too. Like they're not. I do need to ask though if they can be put in a dishwasher, because that is something I need to know. So, but yeah, if you guys have questions for her, definitely put those out in the channel. Just make sure that you put them in all caps so I can catch it. No, they're definitely really cool. So what do we got?
This is actually a customer's order, but I just finished it the other day. But this is a squishy D20, so it squishes.
Okay.
And unlike other squishy dice, the numbers are actually painted.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So I tell this story every once in a while. In high school, I got my first dice thrown at me, and it'd been nice if that would have been the dice that got thrown at me instead of. Yeah, I've told this many times. I am the GM that I learned very quickly how to control a table in the most horrible ways possible when I was younger. So I kind of have learned what not to do nowadays.
They probably deserved it back then.
I have no issue with killing my players, and that's the main thing. And the people don't like that. So my first campaign I had ever ran, I was in high school, and I killed off 3 of my players that night.
No.
And I got my first set of dice thrown at me, and I got my first chair thrown at me. It's the only chair I've ever had.
Chair?
Yeah, I had a chair thrown at me. Yeah, he was so mad at me. But we, I don't even remember exactly how I did it, but like it was just we've been playing because when you were in high school, you don't play for like 2-3 hours. You play for like 9-10 because it's all you can do. It's all you have to do.
It's got so much energy.
Yeah, so we did, and I think I was playing for I think we were like 8 hours in or something, and something had happened and his character had died. So he's put so much time and energy into this character. And this is not the first time we had, this was the first time I had run games with them. And yeah, I had killed his character off, and he was very, very upset with me. So yeah, it happens.
Sure, though, goodness.
Yeah. All night.
Was your dexterity?
Games. Yeah.
Was your dexterity high enough to dodge the chair?
No, it wasn't. It was not.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I definitely got hit with the chair. It was not fun.
Oh no.
But no continuous problems. So, at least bruising back then, and we got back together. So I ran that game for like another 6 months after that, though. So I feel like, yes, I killed him, but at the same time, we still had a good game for months. So
well, that's good at least.
Yeah. But So we've got plushies, we've got terrariums, we've got these amazing cups, which I said while you were gone. Do I dishwash these or no?
So they're hand wash preferred. You can dishwash them, but like after a few years, it too much heat will make the design fade.
Okay, I'll hand wash.
So
I'm good with that.
yeah, hand wash is much better.
Got it. Yeah, I did fail my deck save. But yeah. So tell me a little bit about your. I would say let's start with the first campaign, but let's just scrape that one off the list, and let's go to your first Cappy campaign, the one that you're enjoying. Tell us about the character that you're playing in that campaign.
So it's so funny because I'm not a mean person, but my character is. His name is Anarian. He's a homebrew ice fairy. So he's like Irish fairy. So like,
Okay.
he can. We're like level 15 or so, so he can do like. I didn't realize that this was at the time a little overpowered because I was still getting back into this.
Right.
But he can like size change like into a tiny like 3 times a day.
Okay.
And then he can he doesn't have a soul, so if he dies, his body becomes pure ice. And you have 10 days to revive him or until he doesn't melt. So if he melts, like he's gone.
Okay.
And then he has wings that can slide in and out of his back. So he has like a flight speed of I think 50.
Okay.
But I feel like that's okay. But yeah, so a little too much, but yeah.
Hey, I mean, as long as your game master has like figured out how that mechanic will balance out.
He's incredibly balanced it.
So-
And then I also forget he size changes. So in situations where it would have worked,
You're
like I would
"Oops."
forget. So yeah.
Yep, that's the so I have a rule at some of my tables, depending on how long I've been playing with them, where you have to use every single one of your class and race abilities at least once before you can level.
Mhm.
So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so and normally the class I usually do class, I don't usually do race because race is one of those things that you can use over time. But for class abilities specifically, I try to make sure that at least the newest class ability that you've gained that level, you've utilized it once before you gain the next level, and that way you understand how that ability works and whatnot. But yeah, it's come into handy for a couple of my games. So, but
I think it's pretty interesting.
So tell us a little bit more about that character. So they're an ice fairy. What class are you playing?
So like his backstory, it's a little cheesy,
Hey,
but he's a sorcerer.
somewhere.
Yeah, I know, right? He's a sorcerer. He like it's sort of like I had the story and then the DM told me the backstory of the world, so that I tweaked it to fit the backstory. So like he's like 300 something, but 90 years ago he fell in love with this human while he was so he's an archivist, like a librarian, and he does like research and stuff for the fairy community or the Fey Wilds and the Fey realm and stuff. And what he does is they send him to the human world, the realm, or like the realm. And sorry, I just got nervous all of a sudden. And he would like archive things. So like if there's like a war going on, he would be on one side of the war, another fairy would be on the side, and they would like record what's going on each side and then like compare notes, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And they're not supposed to intervene or do anything, but they're just basically like taking historical notes of things of importance or things that might cause an issue, that kind of thing. And so like the rule was he wasn't supposed to intervene, but he ended up falling in love with the human general and kind of realized that the war was going to be skewed and that the general would die. And when the general was like fatally struck, he broke the rules and he intervened and pulled him into the fairy world to save his life, and hid him in the fairy world for like a week. At that point, like this darkness happened to where like every night was like pure blackness. Like you can't, dark vision doesn't work. You can't speak in it. You can't do anything in it.
Oh, no.
And now this part I don't remember DM wise because I joined that campaign like mid campaign. So
Okay.
I don't remember if it was like you get morning and then this intense night, or if it was like intense night all the time, and then eventually became the morning night thing. But nothing bad would happen in the darkness. You just couldn't see, couldn't do spells, couldn't speak, can't hear, nothing.
Right.
It was just like a total like it's gone.
What are those things?
And-
what are those things called that you can like go into, like an auditory deprivation? Like
Sensory tanks?
yes.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So eventually the fairies found out about the lover. His name is Torin, and they executed him because they were like, he's the cause of the darkness. You broke the rules, and now the world is suffering. So then my character, even though he's a sorcerer, story wise, our DM lets us like, if you study really hard with like certain rules and stuff, you can learn spells that are outside your class.
Yeah.
And so for 90 years, my guy's been studying and researching how to resurrect his lover. But when he tried to resurrect him the first time, like not the 90 years, while he had access to the fairy knowledge, they found out and they stopped him and they banished him from the fairy world, of the Fey realm. So now he's stuck in this world. And they told him he can like, they would give him a boon if he'd resolve the darkness. So he was like, okay, I can either like study within 100 years to do resurrection and bring my lover back, or if I get rid of the darkness, I can get my lover back. So he goes on this crusade, basically finding research, finds out that there is this like pillar, not a pillar, well, they're called pillars, but they're like strong family names of like important value or whatever in these worlds. And there was 5 of them, and one of them's called the Khrushchevs. And Inks is probably so annoyed at me watching everything, but these are like the criminal underground family. Okay. So like they handle all the transportation in the world, but they also like do handle drugs and stuff like that. And there's rumors that they're behind the darkness. So Narian's like, maybe it wasn't me bringing Torin into the darkness, maybe it was something else. And so the campaign goes through. He gets introduced to the other team members, and he's so pretentious, like Anarian. He's like really snobbish and pretentious and shallow, and he's not like a team player. But then there's me, bubbly me, that's really nice and sweet and is the team player. So I don't really play him very well because I'll slip up and I'll say something, and then I'll be like, no, wait, I mean it. So there's a lot of me just going, he says this and I don't like this, but this is how he is. So and then sometimes I'll get too into character, and then I'll think, well, I'm being mean, I gotta reel it back. And so it's my friends are used to it now. Right. That they get the gist of when I'm trying to be mean and stuff like that. So now I'm like, in the other campaigns I'm going to be in, I'm going to be a nice person. Being mean is hard. I don't know how people can like do that naturally. Playing
that shift of personality at such a degree can be very difficult, and it can be very taxing.
Oh God, yes.
I know people that do, they're very charismatic and they're very high intellect, and watching them play like a barbarian who could barely speak, like, and then talking to him after it, and like, it's so exhausting trying to like come up with small words to be able to say certain. I'm like, don't do it then. Like, it's your choice if you want to play that way. And they usually don't, like you said, you only play like one campaign that way, right? And then every other one, you've got to kind of go closer to your natural, because it's less exhausting and it's less acting. So but yeah, no, it sounds like an interesting campaign, and I'm curious to find out in the long run if this darkness was just a coincidence and something had happened outside of this, and they're kind of using you almost as like a scapegoat.
I feel like they kind of are, but it also partially was my fault, because like we're near the end of the campaign, but I feel like if I talk about this campaign, it'll be hours, because one, I ramble, and then 2, a lot has happened. But like condensed version, the portal that Anarian went through is stuck and still open, and the Khrushchevs are using that energy to make an anti-magic barrier. So they're siphoning energy from the Fey realm, like magic and stuff, from the Fey realm and the Dragon realm, but the Dragon's a long story. But they're basically siphoning energy to make this anti-magic barrier around their manor, where the potential source of the darkness is, we don't know what's in the manor, but we're going in there to kick some butt. And like, we're really wrapping up on getting magical. Okay, so tangent. So we went to an abandoned city to find an ancient weapon that could help destroy this anti-magic barrier. And it's all covered in fairy magic, which is really sus to me. And we go and we find this weapon, and it's this, I think the DM, the actual like Dungeons and Dragons name for the weapon is the Soul's Blade, I think. And And guess what? It's made with the soul of my lover, which is why my resurrections have been failing, because his soul is trapped.
Oh,
And I told my DM, I told Inks, I was like, because he was like, "What do you want in this campaign?" And I told him, "Fuck me up," but I did not expect this.
oh yeah.
And so
No,
I was
you
like,
you
I
made
was so
that
upset.
mistake.
I did. I
Oh
did.
my
I love it
goodness.
because it was good. Because he was like, "Do you want like a happy ending or do you want character growth?" And I was like, "Inks, fuck me up." And he quoted me on that and he pinned it in the Discord chat. And I don't regret it, but it was like, it was such a, this was like 3 weeks ago or so
Yeah.
that we just went through this scene. And it was such a strong emotional scene of me finding this blade, touching it, and then feeling a hand that was familiar touch my hand
Yep.
on it. And then as I'm sensing the soul, I can sense it's him.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, EX, like, shout out to you. He's a really good DM. And
Sounds like it.
he entwined everybody's stories into his world.
Right.
So everybody is connected in some way. And it was really interesting. Like, we had one character who was like, they were just a mercenary at the beginning, and then they found out that they were brainwashed by the crew chefs, so they're a mercenary for the crew chefs. And then me accidentally doing a dispel magic on them, erase the modified memory on them, and like, you know, little things. And then he actually killed the entire Leonin race by like under the crew chef thing, and one of our guys is the last remaining Leonin. So like, there's so much like inner drama and everything.
Oh, yeah.
He's twisted everything perfectly. Like, I've like, even in that middle school story that I desperately kind of want to erase from my memory, that was also a homebrew kind of, I think. I don't know what that one was, but that story wasn't as good as like this. And then I am in 2 other campaigns right now, and I love those campaigns, you know, shout out to them. But like, this one's like my baby. This one's like, I love it so much. And I started like the 15th session in, like, I wasn't even there for the beginning. There was a lot of heavy advance. So I just love Ink so much. Like, he honestly pulled me back into D&D, and I really love it.
Yeah. No, and that's one thing that I hope that if out of anything, and people are listening in right now that you're listening to, is tell your GM this stuff. This is what we want to hear all the time, because this is what we like. You know, there's those days that you go through and you're like, man, that game was not what I was expecting it. Maybe I did it wrong. Blah 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 blah. And normally the players are completely thinking outside of that, and you know, make sure that your game masters know that they're doing a great job, especially if they're putting that effort and energy into it. Yes.
Yeah.
Our tech has a very similar story to what you said, which is, you know, I don't have a backstory. Please make my backstory for me. And I went, okay. And then I killed off half of his family like 4 episodes in. So yeah. And then we built an entire campaign around that backstory on that end, and it was fantastic.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But yeah, no, I feel that pain where it's like, how do I weave and twist and connect things? And sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you're playing, like, backstories are great, and sometimes they're there to connect, and you can grab those web pieces and pull them together. Other times you just got to kind of throw stuff at players and see what bites, and when they bite, you can, okay, now you have a connection that I can play with over here, and I can run it this way. And like I said, and I don't know how your game master did it, if they just took all the backstories and then built the entire world around their backstories only, or if they had a world already built and then they're kind of tying in where these backstories would make sense and how they connect and whatnot. It just depends on the type of game.
I think it's the second one.
Okay.
Because when I joined late, he was able to weave in the fairy stuff and make it in there. And then, so I think he built the world and then like carved sections of it for everybody.
Yep. Yeah, so and a lot of times you'll see that with even modules. Like I over the last 3 years, the first year I ran nothing but homebrew, and then as I started getting deeper into the game, I wanted to try a module because I was like, these modules are written and they've come up with some good ideas, and I've never done one. Every module I ran went completely outside of what the module is consisting of. But the premise is there. So you have your main goal, right? But then all of a sudden you're now pulling all these character ideas and everything the characters are pulling. But you have a setting now, which is the main focus of the module, in my opinion. If anything you're going to use a module for, it's going to be for the setting. It's going to allow you to have kind of an instant grounding of where you're at. So to take that a little farther is now you can pull things. So now instantly you can see as your backstories are pulling and grabbing things from backstories, you're able to connect those dots a little easier. I know you never got to use your werebear power. Can we not talk about that portion? I did at one point in the same campaign. They had ran into almost this underworld type mentality where it was werewolf, or it was with werefolk against the vampires, and the vampires had convinced the town that the werefolk were bad. Werefolk were actually not bad at all, and the only reason why our druid got werebear abilities is because he went through the actual ritual, which was built up. It's like a 3-part ritual that gained it, and their friends, the other people in the party, actually stood around like the circle to protect as things were trying to get it, like the shadows were trying to get to him. And then when he released his werebear, that's the only time he's ever played at it, was he was fighting all of his player friends because they had to knock him out so he could control it, stuff like that. That was a fun campaign.
It sounds really fun.
I don't know how many episodes we played of that. It was like, I don't know, probably 60, 70 episodes for that one.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, that was a good time. Let's see here. So we went over your character. We've talked a little bit about the backstory of how this all comes together. What would you say is like your biggest highlight of this this community? Either playing as a player, creating something special, finding somebody that really connects with, like, what was your biggest highlight, and like what brings you to like the pinnacle of where you're at right now in the TTRPG community?
I'd say, because I'm more on Twitter than like Instagram and stuff. I'd say the community on Twitter, they're really inclusive and very welcoming. So, like, I've been invited to a few APs, even though I never have any AP experience. Even though I politely turned it down because I'm too shy for that shit. But, like, just everybody's just so nice and like carefree, and like if you have a question on something, like everybody is like for it. Like there's like a Discord community I'm in, actually. Shout out to Dungeons and Darlings. One, it's a very cute name. And two, it's like a community for like women and trans folk and non-binaries for like Dungeons and Dragons and other TTRPG games. And so I learned a lot from them there. And, you know, like DM tips or like questions on character building, or just in general, like they have like sections where you can like talk about like your ethnicity and like where you're from and stuff like that. So like I know there's only like a few Persians that play TTRPGs like that I know of that are on Twitter, but I know that there's like a lot more in Iran. But like surprisingly, like I didn't know that the TTRPG world like went to like Middle Eastern countries. Not that I'm like ethnocentric or anything, but like I just never like expected that, especially out of my own country, because my own country has a lot of restrictions, and like rock music's banned because like the theocracy and all of that. But you know, you have these little underground players that will play D&D and play other games and stuff, or like listen to rock music and stuff. And so I just like that it's inclusive and like everybody can join in on it. And that the Twitter and the Discord communities, everybody's like really wholesome and supportive. And like, you know, like there's like I think it's called Table Tempests. I don't remember, but they're like an all-inclusive AP that goes on like the backgrounds of like different ethnicities, different storytelling, and building on that.
They will be supposedly on our show in the next couple months. So.
Ooh, good. I love them. Like I've been watching their stuff. I even actually applied because I was like, you know, if I'm going to do an AP, I would want to do it with them. But it just kind of shows how like how warm and accepting the community is, and it just makes me reflect and think about how in middle school I was ostracized and all of that, and then now how different it is. So I think my highlight is just how the community is. Is honestly that.
No, I like it.
I feel like I'm in like a giant circle, but yeah.
No. So it makes sense, right? I'm going to ask one question though, and I hope it's not controversial in any way, but it's something more that I'm confused concerned about is in a lot of those communities. I understand there's an inclusivity to it, but for somebody who is a male heterosexual, um, is I'm being excluded from things like that. And I understand it, but I feel like at this point it's growing to the point where there's more diversity looking for that minority setting, and they don't include at some points. And I'm saying this because I've actually had it happen to me once in the community
No,
so far.
I agree with you. Like there are some times where it's like we're supposed to be inclusive and then we still exclude.
Right.
But I feel like if enough diversity happens, then in my opinion, like it's kind of like it'll mix in eventually, if that makes sense.
And I completely agree with you there. I think over time it's just one of those things where there's still that stigma from way back when that that was that exclusion, right? And then there's still that anger and that changeover, and I think it's growing and it's getting better. But yeah, no, I've seen it because I've seen a couple people ask me, and they're like, have you ever been on an AP at times? And I said, I've only been on one or two. I said that I applied for two of them, and they said that I wasn't diverse enough, and I was like, oh, okay, I was like, hold up, like if I'm the only one there that's of the of this port, then I'm technically still a diversity. But yeah, I was just curious your opinion on that, because I think that is something that I've seen kind of shifting almost too much at this point, and it needs to kind of turn back a little bit so that everybody's included. So
I feel like I agree with you on some points on it. I just feel like overall there's not enough diversity yet. But I feel like once it gets to like a certain threshold, then it will be like inclusive for everybody, because at that point everything will be balanced out.
Right. And I can agree with that.
Like for example, like there was that King's Flower thing that happened where there's this brand, I think they were called King's Flower. It was on Twitter like a while ago, but they have a bakery competition that they do every year, every so often. And then they made one that was just for POCs only. And then like white people got like so upset, and they were like, you guys are being racist, you guys are excluding us.
Right.
But they have like 90 other baking competitions that I think. So for me, I'm like, yeah, there's an exclusion, but it's also uplifting voices that
it's uplifting voices, correct.
It's uplifting voices that aren't always there. So like you might have like 100 or like thousands of like white TTRPG only tables, and then maybe like 5 or 6 that are like specifically just POC. And yeah, some of them are like excluding, but it's also like, it's not saying that there's enough of the white people voices, but it's more of like, there's not enough of us that if we put too much space on our tables, we won't have enough for our voices to be heard.
No, that makes perfect
like,
sense.
My middle school group was all white men, and I wasn't treated very well, but I don't think that that's how all TTRPGs are. But I also know that there is still a lot of hate in this community. Like, I don't know if you saw the I don't remember the name of it, but the summit that happened, and it was on Twitter, and I don't remember the exact name of the summit, but it was like, they were like, here are all of our diverse indie cast, and it was like all white people. And then people were like, you had, women and minorities in your group, why didn't you put their pictures up there too? Like they were also in the summit. But like the first 50 pictures, I think, were all just white men.
Oh, wow.
And so then the summit like apologized, and then they like posted some of their like female and POCs and stuff. And then the community got like the racial part of the community of TTRPG like was like really angry at the summit, and was like, why did you guys like bow down to the woke people? And like there was so much hate.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, I blocked so many people just like looking at it. Like, so I know there's still a lot of hate in the TTRPG space, and there's not that much inclusivity. So I don't think we're there yet, but I think we will get to a point where there will be enough inclusivity that there will be mixing of tables. But like at this point, there's just not that much, and there's still so much hatred.
Right. I can understand that. Yeah. No, thank you. Like I said, to me, it's one of those things where I don't get that other side of the picture all the time. So understanding it now makes more sense, of being more of a it's more of bringing up, getting those voices heard compared to, just pushing people out because of certain reasons. And that makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
to me. So, well, thank you on that. Let's see. So we're about 20 minutes in, or 20 minutes left. But some of the questions I like to ask are things like, what are some home things, like, because you said you do a lot of homebrew, it sounds like, with, the Ice Fairy race. It sounds like your game master has got some pretty good skills. What are some homebrew things that maybe other tables have not seen before that you use at your home table that maybe your game master uses at the home table that somebody might get some inspiration on or able to take to their table?
I mentioned before his spell thing. That's for any class. So like where Barbarian was learning like a cantrip, and it's like you can't learn like mega spells unless you're like a certain, like if you're like a sorcerer, it'd be easier for you. But like for example, our Barbarian wanted to learn mold earth, or shape earth, or no, it is mold earth. Sorry, I'm tired. And so I think it was for him, it was intelligence rolls. So every day in the campaign, like each day that would pass, he would have to roll an intelligence to see if he was able to study it hard enough. And then after certain, he wouldn't tell us how many points we needed in total or something like that. But like after a certain amount of points, he'd be like, congratulations, you've learned like mold earth, or you've learned this other cantrip or something like that. So like for me, I was lucky in that I rolled 4 natural 20s in a row. That he was like, you know what, you learned resurrection, like you got.
He's like, all right, fine, like, you get it.
Because we did an online dice roller, so like I couldn't just be like, oh, like I rolled a 20 when I didn't, kind of thing, Not that I would, but like it was all online, so we would see it. And so I wore that for 4 consecutive days in a row. That he was like, and I had told him, I was like, I don't want to get this goal yet, because this is so integral to my character that like if he learns this, he's gonna leave the party. And he was like, oh, don't worry, like, and this is because he didn't tell me about the Souls Blade. He's like, don't worry, that won't be an issue. So when I learned it, I was like, are you sure? Like, he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, because I still have this pinky that I saved in a ball of ice that I'm gonna use to resurrect him, but it didn't work. And so I feel like it adds a little bit of fun. Like if your character is like studying, like, and it's during downtime, you can't just actively during the day. Like he'll be like, because if you don't mention it, like when we're winding down, then it didn't happen, kind of thing. So you have to be like, oh, like right before bed, I take out the book and I read, and he'd be like, okay, roll your intelligence, that kind of thing. So that was good. And then I think a lot of people do this, but we also have, like, I think this one's a common one, but we do the potions rule where it's like, if you want the full health of the potion, it's an action. But if you just want like to do a bonus action, you can do it, and then you just roll for the dice or roll how much you heal. So we do that.
I've heard that one. I don't use that one on my table. I use
saved my life a few times.
I use the bonus action for other people, and then the action for yourself.
I've heard of that one too.
Repeat that, or reverse that.
What?
Reverse that, not repeat it. Reverse that. Yeah.
I know what you meant. I know what you meant.
But yeah, no, that's an interesting one.
Trying to think of what else he's done.
I like the learning though, because a lot of times it's very hard to come up with ideas of like what downtime really looks like for people. So a lot of times you're like, okay, we're getting ready to close down for the evening. Everybody's around the campfire. What are you doing? And normally they're just like, I'm just doing my normal and I'm going to bed. Like, okay. But if we could give something that gives you that kind of extra bump to do something, and something I've challenged my players to this year is, you tell me what you want to do, and we'll come up with, because a lot of the stuff is like, they want to be herbalist, they want to create their own alchemy stuff, they want to do their own weapons or armor and stuff like that. And sometimes it's fun, but other times it's like, I have no idea what kind of materials you think are going to be useful for this. You tell me what you think it is. Now I trust all my players, so it's a little different than like just taking a brand new set of table and being like, yep, this is what you should do.
Right.
But it's been interesting because they're like, oh, I want to create a potion that does this. Okay, well, what do you think you need? Oh, well, I'm going to need a vial, I'm going to need this type of plant, I'm going to need this type of item, and it's going to take me 5 days. Okay, cool. Let's put this together and let's see how it works. And then I let them write that down in their book, And then if they want to craft it next time, it's shorter time frame. You know, it only takes you 2 days to do because you already figured out all of the steps for it, and whatnot. So it's been interesting. I've seen some.
It reminds me of Inks has a similar thing. I forgot one of our barbarian is also like an alchemist. And so he's the Leonin, got one, and he'll use his blood to like make things, and he'll use everybody's blood to make things, like as an ingredient. Like so there's these potions that in the story called Behemoth Files, and what they do is they're made out of dragon's blood, and they like, for me, they like, as a sorcerer, they restore all spell slots. They give you haste. They do like some other stuff too. I think for martial artists, they do like, you get full health heal. Oh, you also get full health heal. I think you get an extra attack. You're also hasted. Like they're like a drug, but they have like a crash. Okay. So like after like a certain amount of runs, you get like the crash of haste is, but I think it's like double time. I don't remember the exact rules because I was like, oh, I'm not interested in this because it's made out of blood. And a character homebrew, Manarian's vegetarian, and if he can't ingest any meats or anything like that, so he can't even drink the potions. So I was like, I'm not interested in this, so that's why I didn't pay attention. But he was like, I want to experiment with everybody else's blood. So like he like, you know, mixed the Behemoth Files or mixed health potions with different blood and chemical stuff. And the DM would have him roll, and then he would give him like, oh, this is like a potion of ether. It restores like 3 spell slots, like level 1s to level 3. Like he made like little rules for everything of like what everyone's blood does when mixed with the health potion or mixed with the Behemoth Files or mixed with this and that. And so I thought it was a pretty interesting take. And then for me, if I wanted to take a potion that had someone's blood in it, I had to roll a Constitution saving throw to see if I would throw up or not. So, which was fair because it's all blood and stuff.
Yeah, it's all. I mean,
but he was really creative about that.
Definitely, I like these are the types of things I love talking to other game masters and players about, because these are the things that are unique to your table that in most cases you've never have heard again. Right. We all play within our own domain. We all play within our own walls. And unless you play on an AP, nobody will have ever hear about this kind of stuff. But some game masters have come up with so many unique ideas, and just leaving those to 6 people forever just seems to be unfair. I think people should be able to share those types of ideas.
Honestly, I wish our campaign was an AP. So much fun happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's always just... I mean, like, we have a campaign of just our players, and we call it a raw campaign because there's no editing, there's no nothing. But we just run a recorder in Discord, and it records everything. And it's more for us just to, if we want to listen back and see where we were at. But it's definitely an option for people.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. She fell.
My cat knocked my camera over.
Apparently, you were not paying attention enough to the cat.
I was not. But also, I think she chewed through my charger because my laptop's not charging.
Uh-oh. That's not good. Well,
or she's knocked it. Let me move. Oh, gosh.
Yep.
Now you see my messy room. Sorry.
You're fine.
1 second. I'm going to move to the other room where the other charger is.
You're quite all right. So while we're waiting for her to set back up, do any of you have any questions in the chat room? And hopefully you can take some of these ideas to your table. It looks like my player is writing something down. I don't know what he wrote down, but he's writing something down. Shadow Lantern. What's an AP? Actual play. So it's streamed games or podcast games.
There we go. I'll have to check the other charger later.
Blood potions. Oh, yay. Blood potions. Those are going to come into my game, apparently. Okay.
I'm 90% sure she chewed through that cord. That cord was starting to die anyways.
Oh, not good.
Cats.
There are plenty of Eladrin to steal blood from. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Our current campaign has 3 Eladrin in it, and we are in Icewind Dale, so it is... and I am torturing these players with the weather alone. It's just so much fun.
My Sunday campaign, it's a new one I just joined. Starts this Sunday. There is 1 Eladrin in it. And I think they're like seasonal elves is how she described them to me. And so I think right now they're in summer mode. or spring
Okay.
mode. I don't remember, but the art for her was pretty.
Yeah, so they can either
But
change.
that's all I know is a summer elf.
Normally they pick their season, but some game masters will allow them to switch throughout the seasons.
Gotcha.
It's more of a difficulty for like if you're trying to use like D&D Beyond or something, because then you got to go in and you got to adjust your season every couple months or whatnot, things like that. But yeah, it's and it's based off of the 4 different seasons elves inside the Feywild. So I mean, it's kind of part of the thing as well. So you've got your summer, winter, fall, and spring elves. What do you look for in the homebrew to make sure it's balanced? Or what do you add to me? Okay, so what is something that you have seen in your homebrew that has helped balance some of these additional features?
Like from Anarian?
Yeah.
So like his size change, he can't do any weapon attacks, he can't do any spells or cantrips. So when he's in his tiny form, he can't do any of those things. But he does get a +5 to his AC because he's like 4 or 5 inches tall. So like he gets a +5 to his AC, and then maybe for Dex and stuff or stealth. But he can't do any cantrips, he can't do any spells, and you can barely hear him if he needs to communicate, that kind of thing.
So it's going from like a normal fairy size to like Tinkerbell.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
So normal human size. So he's like 5'9" in human form, and then he just suddenly shrinks, but he loses all of his abilities. Can't do like racial abilities or anything like that.
Try to catch this thing.
Right? Oh man, that would suck.
No, that's a good way to do it. Like I said, it's more of a defense mechanism. It's something to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And it gives you the opportunity to run, which is something that game masters don't use very often, which they should. I love making my players run because it makes them want to come back, and it makes them.
I did use it to like run, but it was sort of like we were still in the beginning of like knowing each other in the story. And our we have like filler episodes sometimes, right? Where I call them filler episodes, but we'll have like elemental caves. This is a fun thing that my DM did, is a rip would happen in time and space, and it would be like a little mini dungeon. Okay. And when you'd go through, like if you die in the dungeon, you don't die in the campaign. You disappear outside of the dungeon in like horrible pain. But there's like a rare item if you're able to like defeat all the monsters or whatever, and then you get to keep that rare item and stuff like that. So in the elemental cave, this door was like, or like the ceiling was starting to fall at like a rapid rate because we like triggered a trap. And I was like, I don't care about this party enough. Like Anarian didn't care enough yet because it was only a couple of months. Right. And he was like, I'm just gonna go small and slip under the door, and I did. But the door jammed the ceiling, which was a part of the puzzle. Like because we were supposed to break this hourglass thing that make the whole thing collapse. But then the door that was like broken into kept the ceiling from crushing everybody. Oh, okay. And so I basically ditched them for no reason because then they were able to go through the door and they're like, "Where's Anarian?" And I pop up, I'm like, "Hi, I was here." Like it was awkward, but because they were like, "We didn't know you size changed." Also, like, what the fuck? Yeah. And I was like, I was just gonna save myself, Yeah, like thanks for helping. And I'm like, what the fuck could I have done? Like stop a ceiling? Like no. So, but I think that was the only time I've actually used it. And then that's also his natural form is a smaller size. So one of the things is if he goes near the anti-magic barrier in the story, he shrinks to that small size. Oh. So that's why they also need to get rid of that anti-magic barrier, because him and then a wizard character, Hawk, they can't use any magic in the anti-magic barrier. Mm-hmm. So that's why we're trying to get rid of it, because our spellcasters can't do shit. Right. And I'm like, if I go in there, I'm tiny and I can't do anything at all. Right. So like that's the fun part of it, was like, because it's its natural form, and if he's using magic to be the normal size, our DM was like, yeah, so if you enter this barrier, you're going to be tiny. And so that's like another challenge on top of it. And our final battle is going to be in there. And we still have no idea how to get rid of this barrier. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully the game this Saturday, like we'll find out. I don't know. Right. But like, it's just fun. Yeah. So like he's balanced it out. So that I can't just use this to escape every fight.
Mm-hmm.
I also forget to use it, but like if I would use it, I would do that.
Right.
Like and stuff. And then also like fairies aren't very common in this world or at all. So Anarian has to hide his wings because there's hunters out there and stuff like that.
Got you.
So like there's little things out there too. Like he's not a rarity, but it's just so uncommon that you don't want eyes to be on you, kind of thing.
And you also have, you know, this Leonin, which you told me there's only one left. So I'm sure that doesn't help your situation on.
Does not either. We're definitely an odd crowd, and he's like gigantic 7-8 foot lion dude.
Right. Well, is there anything you want to share with us as we wrap up the evening? It's about 10 o'clock.
Just thank you so much for having me. This was actually a lot of fun. I thought I was going to be like a nervous, bumbling wreck because I feel like this is the first time I've done like, I'm very camera shy.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is the first time I've done like a camera thing with, because it took me like a year before I finally showed my face to like my Saturday group, you know? So I was like, I don't even think I can do this. And I was already telling you how nervous I was.
Yeah.
But this was very nice and relaxing. And thank you so much. And it just felt very warm and inclusive. And I liked it. So it was really nice talking to you and everything.
Definitely. Well, we'll definitely have to have you back on the show in another format where you can actually bring your character to the tavern and you can meet the tavern keeper and we can have another story to be told.
Ooh,
that's what we else we do. But if you didn't get a chance to check this out, go check out their website. These things are awesome. They're solid. They have a bamboo top, and you can get them in all the classes. So you can get one for each of your players, and one for your game master for an anniversary of your campaign, that kind of thing. Definitely go check them out. Next week we will have another guest. And we will tell another story, and I believe this story is going to be either a character or a world story, which we'll find out next week. But until then, thank you once again, Fyra, for coming on and sending this amazing gift. Thank you. And we will make sure that everybody keeps an eye out next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as the brand new show that launches Monday. If you can tell all your friends and family, we'll be over on Gen Con TV Twitch channel, where we'll be launching Dress to Quest Season 3, and I am your game master for that, and everybody's dressed in costume, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So hope to see everybody there. We'll see you guys all next week on the next episode of Tavern Talks. Good night.
Right.